to Inspired Choices TV. I am your host, Christine McIver. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have another inspiring guest that is going to be sharing what she's doing in the world in creating greater. If you're someone that has a message that you'd like to share, we would love to hear from you. You can connect with me, Christine, at inspiredchoices.ca, or you can go over to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. So today I have a wonderful guest, a friend and a colleague, Lisa Benitz. She's flown in all the way from Calgary. She actually took the red eye, but she's looking pretty good. And she's here to talk to us today all about energies. So Lisa, welcome. I'm so glad you made it.
I know. Here I am.
Here you are in Toronto.
It's amazing what you can do in 4.5 hours.
There you go. Well, you know, isn't it a great subject, talking about energies, right?
I know.
So Lisa, you have been... you were born and raised in Canada, yes, and
in Toronto.
Toronto,
Toronto, and then Mississauga. So yeah.
Okay, so in this area.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And how long have you been in Calgary for?
Without giving my age away, I moved west when I was 19, and so it's been quite a long time.
So you like half your life in Ontario and half your life in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Okay, Calgary.
Calgary.
Yeah. So when did you first get involved or were intrigued by the whole topic of energy?
My earliest memory of being aware of energy was probably around the age 3. And I remember going into a space with my mother and not enjoying being there. I wanted to leave. And I kept pulling her hand and saying, I'd like to go, and in my whatever that my words were, and she was like, it's fine, and eventually she was like, we've got to go. So we left, and there was just different things that occurred in my childhood that I was really aware of when I walked into people's homes and spaces, and it wasn't.
What were some of those things that occurred?
Yeah, so it was just I could walk into someone's home, and I really desired to move the furniture. I just
not something a young child generally does.
But I wanted to move furniture, and it was interesting because I remember my mom and dad, when we were kids, they'd move furniture around and they would buy antiques and sell things and refinish. So it was sort of part of my upbringing, and yet I already had an awareness about shifting furniture, and when you shifted the furniture, that shifted the energy of the space. And then there was sort of, mirrors, different things, artwork, mirrors, everything started to speak to me. And I didn't
so not speak to you like
not
out
words,
loud.
not words,
right,
but actually just speak to me in a way that was, it just was like this, if you moved it here, what would that create?
Okay.
And so myself and my friends, we used to paint each other's rooms. We used to move furniture around. And I was always the one that would go, I'll come over and paint. It was like a painting party.
Cool.
And so
it's interesting when you say about speak to. I was talking with my daughter the other day, and you know how you have conversations with your kids, and it's like, my kids have always teased me that I'm always like the clean freak. Okay, that they're always like, you're always telling us to clean up. And I realized over the last few years that I have a level of OCD. And a lot of people think of that as a problem. And what I understand now is that when a space is messy, it's actually speaking to me. There's a level, I used to think that it just drove me nuts, right? Which, a lot of people probably do when places are messy. But there's this other piece of energy where it creates something different. And I started to it's probably only been the last couple of years that I've been actually acknowledging this. And when I explained this to my daughter, she kind of understood it then in a different way. Because I said, look, when that is like that for me, and I mean, yes, I have my clean home. I'm not anal about everything has to be perfect. But when that is like that over a long period of time, it's literally like it won't stop getting my attention.
Absolutely.
So is that what you mean when you talk about it speaks to you, it won't stop getting your attention?
Well, funny you say that, because I've had conversations with people and I've never even gone into their spaces. I've never even been to the country. I've never been into their space. I haven't even seen a photograph of their space. And when I start to talk to them about whatever's going on in their life, immediately their space starts to talk to me. It's like an X-ray.
So you're getting energy. A picture in your mind, Lisa?
It's more of a sense of what's going on.
Okay.
So then I start asking questions, and oftentimes it'll be something that's going on in their relationship or their health, and so then I'll speak to that area of their space that is cluttered, is maybe areas that they're just shoving in things into that they don't want to address, or things that are broken down. And when we sort of start to dig away, it's like peeling away things. We get to the sort of core, all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, how did you know? And
so you're digging away at their physical home space, and that starts to be like reflective in whatever issues they're having.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's very cool.
It's very cool. And it's not something that I was cognitively doing without having any sort of, I guess, formal practice. And it wasn't until later on in life, in my 20s, my brother lived in Hong Kong, and I remember going to Hong Kong, and Feng Shui was this new, in my world, it was the new thing, only it's a 4,000-year-old practice.
Right.
And then beyond that, before that, there was something called geomancy, which is the geomancers would go into a village where they would set up a village, and they would establish where to place the home, where to place the crops to grow, where it would be as safe for the villagers as possible. So the geomancers would go in with a compass and establish, because in those days it was wide open land, raw land to play with. Today you have cell phone towers, you have electrical underground, water underground. So all this different energy that's coming through the earth and above that can also change on a molecular level things for people. So there's this sort of energy of busyness. So
our bodies are picking up. Okay.
Absolutely. So what happens when our bodies are picking it up is now it gets reflected into the space at home. So you're driving through this energy all day long, and Toronto is a classic. I mean, Calgary, when we drive, we wave when we move over. Not in Toronto. You're driving like this, and it's a completely different energy.
Yes, okay.
Of being behind the wheel of a car. You have to be on guard. You don't know that not everybody's going to signal and turn. They just turn.
Right.
And they'll not just turn one lane, but they'll go like 3 over.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
So it's, with that energy, it's the same as New York. If you went into Pakistan, I mean, there's this energy there.
Right.
As opposed to being out in an open range of like a forest or a farmer's field.
Right.
Where there's just this really relaxing energy. So that gets picked up in our spaces. So how can we create our spaces energetically that aren't picking up all this over here, but actually coming home and having what I call a chillaxing moment, or nurturing the space so that you can come and your whole body goes, ah.
Right. That's interesting. The home that I'm in right now, that we're actually taping in my studio, when I walked in here the first time, and I think that I connected with you that later that day that I had first walked in here, the minute I walked in here, and there was no furniture in the space at all, the minute I walked in, I guess the space was speaking to me. Absolutely. I just immediately was like, and I literally said to the real estate agent, okay, what's it going to take to be mine? There was this absolute knowing. And every time I come home, I mean, I travel, you travel, but each time that I come home and I walk into my space, I literally feel my space and I both go, ah. And there is an ease of breathing, and it can be very active here, with the TV, with all of the other things that I'm doing in my business, and yet my space supports it all.
Yeah.
And I felt physically a different energy within my body.
Wow.
Since living here. So and yet I live in a very busy area.
And it's interesting. even when I first walked in here, and this is something that you can play with when you're in your spaces, is just be aware when you're walking in to actually, and it's really fun when you go traveling, because then you walk into your space and you haven't been there for a while, and it's sort of like, as soon as you walk up to the front door, is it full of junk? Is it full of, because you're now like, is it a dumping ground, your front entrance, or have you cleared it so that the energy from
now you know what I'm waiting for her to say.
Yeah. No, and it's really, are you willing to just sort of let everything find its home? And if it doesn't have a home, if it doesn't serve you, then let it go. And so go, it all, what I do with everyone, it comes from before you've even opened the front door. It's that energy, walking in and going, oh, okay, so there's maybe some dead plants.
Right.
So let's get rid of the dead plants and put something else that can create this really fun new energy. And in Canada, we have 4 seasons. So, I mean, you've got the 4 seasons to play with. So in the summer and the spring, you've got flowers. In the fall, you've got something else. And then winter, you can still put greenery that has snow falling on it. And it can be that fake, what I call fake, but that's fun. And change it up with the seasons. And that way you're not looking as the outside as being separate from the inside.
Right.
No matter where you are, rental, owning.
So it's kind of like a red carpet into your home.
I like that, the red carpet. It's rolling out the red carpet,
right.
So that when people aren't having to step over things, that there's that energy of, it's a welcome.
Right.
It's a total welcome mat. And then when you walk in, there's a place for things, and then coming up into your beautiful space here. I mean, it's and the other really good indicator of something that is really fun energetically is when people don't want to leave.
Right.
So, I mean, how many times have you had people over and it's like, I thought they were going to leave and it's 11 o'clock and I said it was ending at 10. And people are just like, there's something about your space. And you don't have to have a specific thing about it. It's just they don't want to leave.
Right. Well, I think when you enjoy your home, people, you know, that you're friends with, that you're close with, they automatically begin to enjoy it because they are picking up your energy.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so you do this work with energy with people's homes, and that's obviously something that was just very natural for you. Is it a capacity that people can also learn? Is that something you teach people that they can actually learn?
Thank you. Yes, I created a course a couple of years ago, and it just sort of organically occurred where people were asking, I'd consult them on and work with them either through Skype or physically being in their spaces, and everything from decluttering, which I kind of, there's something yummy about it for me, going in and going, ooh, and people are like, but I don't want to get rid of this, and it's like, yeah, but really, does it represent things? So it's that, and then it's sort of, people were calling me up and saying, I'm moving into a new space now. You know, they're questioning what they already knew.
Right.
And so it turned into this great course, and it's like, well, how can I get it out there to people in a way that speaks to their language, and dummy proof, I would call it.
Right.
How to play with your spaces.
Okay, so you teach that course.
Yeah.
Now, both Lisa and I do in a modality called Access Consciousness, and so it's really teaching us to know what we know. So did you incorporate that body of work in with your natural innate ability of spaces in this course?
Yes.
So it's kind of, you bring it all together. Okay. And then you also are very much a health person. When Lisa, this is a quick little story, when Lisa and I first met at a class, we had a connection, and that was 3.5 years ago, and the next thing I knew, somebody had said you were ill and you were actually in the hospital, and I was trying to connect with her, and I really honestly thought that she died. I did, because I didn't hear her. I saw no activity, social media, and we live provinces apart. And the next time I saw her in a class, I actually walked up and said, "You're alive.
You didn't die."
Yes,
and I'm
you
thinking,
didn't die.
was that a good thing? Or I was just, No, I'm very much alive. Thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah.
So you went through an interesting challenge.
I did.
And on the other side of that, you discovered something that really worked for you and your body.
Yes.
And that's something that you're very connected with, and it really speaks to you again to share that with the world, right?
Yes.
So that product, it's glutathione, right?
Well, actually, the product is called Immunical.
Okay.
And it's a protein
Okay.
that goes into your molecules. It's developed 40 years ago out of Canada through McGill University. So there's 40 years of research. The company began 20 years ago, and the cool thing about it is that they just chose to not go through putting it on a shelf. They wanted people to be able to talk about what it can do for you. So this particular product actually helps our body manufacture glutathione, which is our master antioxidant in our bodies. It's sort of like the godfather of all of our molecules.
Okay.
And when we have stress in our life, divorce, moving, pregnancy, loss of job, there's millions of different ways, but there's stress outside of
well,
when we're
stress
driving.
is such a huge subject now.
It's in every way we're inundated with so much of this energy out there that actually contributes to the molecular body, scientifically proven that things start to sort of decrease our glutathione level. Now, when our glutathione levels are decreased, that's when things like cancer and other autoimmune diseases start to occur where there's a breakdown. So it's interesting with the energy work that I did alternatively, because the other part of it is I've done alternative hands-on healing work, is this came into my life, this product, when I had my glutathione levels severely low.
Right.
And as we age, they're also lowered. So when I started to take Immunical, this little protein powder, amazingly enough, I noticed within 3 weeks, my energy was up, my lungs that were full of blood clots, because I had a pulmonary embolism, there was no scar tissue in my lungs.
Wow.
Which my doctors were like, I don't know what you're doing, Lisa, but keep doing it. And I said, well, have you heard of this product? They go, absolutely. And I said, so why are we not marketing this to people more?
Right.
And honestly, it's the pharmaceutical. They're which has got so much synthetic, and this is the only product in the Canadian Pharmaceutical Compendium and the American Compendium. So in the American, you have 6,000 drugs which have synthetic components in them, and out of 6,000 drugs in the American Compendium, this is the only all-natural. In the Canadian, we have 2,000 drugs listed. Again, we are the only all-natural.
Wow.
Which is huge. And this builds up. This is a little thing I take every morning, mix it in juice, water.
Right.
And
it's changed things for you.
It's changed my energy. My hair grows faster. My nails grow faster. I have energy. My skin's great. I eliminated all the inflammation in my body.
And you're alive.
And I'm alive. And this is the really cool thing. I just was on a flight overnight.
Yes.
And usually I would have inflammation. I have no inflammation in which is for me, that's very exciting.
Right.
So inflammation is usually a precursor for something in our bodies that is screaming at us saying, hey, listen up.
So health has not been something that you've taken training in, that you went to school in. This is something that you had to learn when you hit the bricks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I just think it's fascinating to me. A lot of people often say to me, Christine, you do so many different things. It doesn't make sense. How do, to me, it does. Everything speaks to me,
Everything's
right?
connected.
So all of the things that I do, whether it's the TV, the radio, creating websites, working business, for me, it's all about people getting out there with their message, right? That's the core of what I do. I work with people to get their message into the world through all these different mediums, right?
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And you speak energy.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to me how this other piece really does complement all of the other things that you've been doing and adding to your life and your business over time.
And thank you, because the one thing I wanted to say, because I really been thinking a lot about this lately, is how is this all connected? And my creating conscious spaces, when I was studying, because I did study as a feng shui master, one of the things that kept popping was how spaces and health were related.
Right.
So I was aware of that through all my years of studying it, and then to have had my own personal health challenge, to kind of the hiccup in my life that was another sort of wake-up call. I was like, so what's the gift here? And so for me, yes, absolutely. There was a time when I was thinking, do I have to actually choose? And I'm going, no, because that's like cutting off an arm and saying,
right.
Christine, you can't do television or radio anymore. And it's like, no.
What
is that?
No.
And it's like, Lisa, stop talking. What do you mean? It's a natural thing
right.
for us. So what are your gifts and capacities? And where are you not willing to be everything? And
right.
we can be everything. For anybody that says you can't.
Yeah. Well, if that's what works for people, to focus on just one thing, then that's what they should be doing. What I know for me, and I speak to a lot of other individuals, especially entrepreneurs, is like, well, what could you add? Mm-hmm. What would be fun? What do you enjoy doing that would maybe really surprise you? Mm-hmm. And, I've been doing radio for 5 years, and started my own, producing and radio station, 2.5 years ago. And if you'd have told me, even 3 years ago when you and I first met, that I would own a radio station, I would have went, what are you talking about? And yet it slowly started to show itself to me without the push. And now it's so much fun for me. And what else? And really, just like you with following in spaces, it's really following to what is speaking to you. So everything is energy. And I just love what you're creating in the world, and how you're being the invitation for other people to not only look at, how it's impacting their homes, their families, their relationships, their business, their money, and their health. What else is it energetically that if we would give it a little bit of attention and focus, could really be so much fun and such a wonderful contribution. Wow. So thank you so much for what you're doing. I love it. I love when you talk to me about spaces, because it has me tap into my spaces and different spaces that I've been in. And so I can kind of do a connection between what was occurring in my life at the time in the space that I was in. And I enjoy moving. People laugh at me. And I'm like, you know what? I love a journey, and I've moved many, many times. I'm very good at it right now. This is where I am, and I'm living it. So
well, and this space is definitely contributing to you and your business.
Absolutely.
And if you want to know more about this,
yes, please. This is what I was going to. Yes. So Lisa, where can people connect with you?
Creating Conscious Spaces is the class,
okay.
And you can find me either at infiniteenergies.ca or my Access Consciousness site,
right,
as a facilitator.
And your radio show.
And right, of course, that's the other
on my station.
And my radio show is called Infinite Energies with Lisa.
So people can connect with you for your radio show at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com if they're interested, and Infinite Energies, and yeah. So thank you so much for coming. Now, before we wrap up, I've got 5 questions for you. Okay, they're easy questions. She doesn't know about these questions. Okay, so what is your favorite inspirational quote, and how has it influenced you in your life?
Go for it. That's what jumps for me.
Okay.
So it's sort of the energy of just leaping without thinking, just going with the energy of, is it fun? Is it contributing to me in this moment, and not looking any further than that particular moment. So go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
I love it.
Yeah.
What inspires you to get out of bed in the morning?
Oh, I would say being grateful for my body, for being here, for my breath. And every morning I just stroke my body and say thank you for being here. And I have so much gratitude for that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What has been the most surprising thing that you have chosen?
Whew. most surprising thing that I've chosen? Every day is a surprise for me. There's not one particular, I can't pinpoint one particular thing, but I guess the most pivotal thing for me was when I went west, young man. When I left my home in Ontario when I was 19 and went west, that just changed my whole trajectory in my life.
Right.
So,
how much fun was that?
Yeah.
And scary too, I'm sure.
And that was a go for it moment.
That was a go for it moment. Yeah. Okay, what is your greatest secret to creating the life you have?
Just knowing that this journey that I've been on is really creating this space of joy and happiness, and if I can inspire others to choose that for themselves, and my children to inspire them just to choose, just keep going, and no matter what age you are at, just go for it. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, and our final question: what name, other than the one you own, would you like to be called by?
Wow.
I love this question. People always like, what?
Oh, this is a stump. There's so many things that
Lisa, you're not usually
I know
lost for words.
I would just, it's not even a word. It's just the energy of just happiness and bliss.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you.
today. I really had fun, and I'm glad that your flight was wonderful.
It was lovely. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you are someone who is looking to change the energy in your life, in your relationships, your bank account, your home, your body, Lisa would be an amazing person to connect with. If you're looking for creating greater in your life, check out all of our TV episodes. We have had some amazing guests, and we'll be having more coming your way very soon. Again, if you're someone who has a message you'd like to create in the world, I'd love to hear from you. You can connect with me through inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Until we speak again, have an amazing life. Bye for now.